Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do to put a little context around Lindsay's expertise, if you will. So BBSI, also known as Barrett Business Services Incorporated. We've been around for over 50 years. And we started out as a staffing company. So we still do some staffing. And then the other thing we do, kind of related to today's topic, is we are a professional employer organization. So what that means is we help small business owners take a lot of the administrative burdens off of their plates. And we do that by offering kind of one package where we have a local team here in the Puget Sound, and we have 30 offices around the country. But our local team here consists of Lindsay, who is an HR consultant. So as a PEO, you get full access to Lindsay and the capabilities and the ability to answer any HR related questions for your business. We have an HR person, or Lindsay's the HR person. We have a payroll person who runs all the payroll and manages the taxes and does all of that, so that those kinds of things can be off your plate. And then we have a safety and risk individual who can help you make sure you have a safe, clean operation, and everything is risk reduced regarding that. And then we help with talent acquisition and staffing and so on. So that's what we do as a business. Lindsay has great expertise in HR, over 20 years, well over 20 years, serving small businesses and mid-sized businesses in HR. So with that, I will turn it over to her to run a presentation.
Perfect. And my contact information is there, and it sounds like that gets uploaded to where you guys all have access to that. So if you have any questions or want to talk more offline after this, please feel free to reach out. Would love to chat with you. So talking a little bit about recruitment, as I said, we're talking about recruitment, retention, and motivation, I think is what the titles that were given to me to talk to everybody about. In my opinion, and the way things work, I don't believe that it goes recruitment, retention, motivation. I think they're all kind of jumbled together. I think that we actually start with recruitment is where it all begins. And from there, you throw in some motivation to get to being able to, plus few little extras to be able to get to where you might be able to have some positive retention if you're doing those 3 steps right. And so in talking about that, the recruitment, retention, motivation, they kind of all go together. It's not a clear path as far as that goes, as far as how to get to that end game of being able to retain those good employees, because that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to find the good ones that are out there, bring them in, as well as keep the good ones that we have working for us right now. So like I said, when we throw in recruitment plus motivation and a few more things that we're going to talk about, you get your retention, and that's the best case for employees as well as your business. So why do we care about retention? What's the driving force? Why do we talk about it so much? Why do we strive for that as a business? And the reason is, there's several reasons. The benefits of employee retention include engaged employees, your culture, better employee experience and satisfaction. It improves morale. You are going to end up with more experienced employees versus having that turnover where you're constantly having to teach somebody over and over again. Your productivity goes up, your revenue goes up, your costs go down, and it's a better customer experience for your customers, because that's really what we're all here for. We have a product. Most businesses have a product. We have customers. We want that experience to be the best for them. And so when you have this a high level of retention and low turnover, you're going to be able to get those things going for you. 80% of turnover, there was a study done by, I think it was Harvard Business Journal. 80% of your turnover is generally due to bad hiring. So when we talk about retention, going back to how do we have a positive retention strategy? How does we create a retention strategy that works? You got to go all the way back to the beginning. Go all the way back to your hiring. If you had bad hiring, meaning you could have prevented that with the right screening, recruiting, those kind of things in place. Your turnover, as you continue to go, can really take a big hit on your bottom line. There are some significant costs that go with that. You have your direct costs, which will be, the manpower that goes into recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, the hours and the time that you're putting into that. Then you have your indirect costs, lost productivity, damaged client relationships, your revenue's down, you don't have the employees working towards what your end goal there, and morale is going to go down. So the total cost actually can be quite massive with having that turnover continuously going. So finding the right person and having them in the right job really is a critical move. This is kind of what an employment cycle looks like with when you don't have a focus on retention and you don't have that good retention strategy. You start with you don't have a recruiting strategy. So you're just kind of interviewing and putting bodies into positions, right? We've all been there. We get to our busy season, or, all of a sudden it's, whatever it may, whether it be, spring because of it's construction, summertime, or, the holidays with retail, whatever it might be. You have your busy season. So you're just trying to get bodies out there. You don't really have a recruiting strategy. So what that then leads to is ineffective hires. You might not have a good new hire onboarding process, which also plays a factor into this. Your employees are not engaged. Then that leads to the poor performance, and it leads to your minimal retention, which leads to turnover, and you get stuck in this endless cycle, right? And that's you just keep going around and around and around. And that's when, as a business leader, as owners, you're kind of stuck with there going, how do I break this cycle? So that's what we're going to talk about. So in order to have a successful plan, it starts with hiring the right people for the right reasons, for the right jobs. But you need to, how do we do that? You got to evaluate your business needs. And I listened to one of the meetings a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was Andrew that might have mentioned this. And it talks about with marketing, when you're going after a sale, you are tailoring that pitch to the people that you're talking to, right? So you got to do the same thing when it comes to recruiting. You need to look at the jobs. You can have a similar strategy as far as it goes across the board with your company, but each position you need to kind of adjust and adapt to be able to make sure you're actually bringing in the right person for that job. So you want to evaluate your job description for that open role. Analyze those duties and the thought process behind it. Lots of times when we're interviewing, we are asking, behavioral-based questions. Tell me about a time you were in a difficult situation. Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult coworker. Tell me, what skills do you have that relate to this job that you're applying to, right? Those are typical interviewing questions. That's kind of how we all look at interviews. When creating this retention plan, retention is basically the opposite of turnover, right? And so we're trying to prevent turnover and retain these good employees. By looking at that job description, by looking at those duties, you can then make a plan and make your interview process and your strategy and your screening technique, essentially, to be asking the questions that's going to prevent that turnover. So you're looking at those turnover risks. You have a job that, you've lost 4 or 5 people and it's like this constant turnover with that position. Ask yourself why. What's that risk there? And then you can adapt your interviewing and then be asking, so you're actually screening for that turnover risk versus just finding out those skills that might cross over into that position. This is another study that I found really interesting. It's a little bit older, but the data is still pretty current, actually. And it talks about different drivers of turnover. Interestingly enough, employee engagement, which a lot of people feel like, if your employees aren't engaged, your turnover must be high. Engagement's actually lower down at the end of the list. As you can see here, it's talking about life and career satisfaction. It's talking about coping ability, references kind of the environment that they're working in. Career commitment, organizational commitment, is the job fit good for me? So these are, like I said, different drivers of turnover when it comes to like doing an exit interview and talking about why employees are leaving places. So when you're talking about changing your interview and your screening process a little bit, you come up with different questions, or it's not even necessarily different questions. You can ask them the same questions, but when you're taking their answer and you're evaluating that answer, you're listening to it from the aspect of that turnover risk versus just listening to it as them answering how do they answer that question specifically. So for example, talking about a general life or career status, which was one of those higher risks that we just looked at on that chart. On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your career? Very normal question for somebody to ask in an interview. Probably ask that right now. An overall positive outlook on life and career, if their answer is overall a positive answer, that actually correlates to somebody wanting to stay in that job because they're excited about it. They want to be develop their career. So it's looking at it, just taking that answer and evaluating it in a little bit different way and a different approach than you might normally. Other example, identifying job fit. What are your strengths? Again, another really common question that we ask on interviews. It's a great question. It opens the door to hopefully a lot of different conversations or some information that you can actually get from that candidate. But when you look at the answer through the lens of the turnover risk versus, like I said, just trying to get their strengths from them, it's a different interpretation. A person that uses their strengths, there's another study that was from that Harvard Journal, that a person that actually uses their strengths in their job duties every day are 6 times more likely to be engaged in that job versus somebody who's, so if they're interviewing and you know that one of the strengths, what you want to see in this person is the ability to, multitask and be able to, change directions on a dime because there's a lot thrown at them and they need to be able to adapt to that. If that's something that they talk about as one of their strengths, that's obviously going to be a good match. If there's somebody that talks about how, they want to finish their task and then move on to the next one, that's going to tell you that's a risk, right? That's a turnover risk. So being able to take their answers and evaluate that, looking at it from that, like I said, that lens of that turnover risk potential versus just getting that strength from them, you can kind of see where that would help you. Another example, organizational commitment. Why did you apply for this position? Another question we often ask employees, right? But evaluating their answer based on that turnover risk versus just asking them, why did you want to come work here? It'll help you to see where does what their answer is align with your organization? Does it align with what you're looking for in that position? You know the role, you know the position more than they do, what that's going to take. So by being able to listen to that answer and apply it to that risk factor, gives you a better valuation essentially for that screening for that role, which will then lead to, a good hire. So talking about how do we keep these good people and how do we get good people to come in? My question to you as a business leader or business owner is, do you know what your employees want? You have a good employee or a set of employees that are doing a great job. Do you know what they want? If in looking at creating a retention strategy, sometimes us as business leaders or as owners, our vision of what retention could be completely different than what an employee is. And it's all, that goes back to some effective leadership stuff that is probably for another day. But being able to adapt to those employees versus them adapt to your leadership style. It's not about you wanting to be retained there. It's retaining those employees. And so do you know what they want? Because everybody's going to be a little different. You have your people that have been in their jobs for 15 and 20 years. They're going to answer a little bit different as far as what they want a retention, to stick around versus a person that's, 2 or 3 years out of college. Their answers are going to be different. So you have to be able to adapt, be able to adjust and have that flexibility in your program. So again, do you know what your employees want? Yes or no? And you can follow your chart on down. If you don't know, why not? Why have you not asked your employees? Why have you not talked to them? That it's a two-way street here, right? It's not just what we want as a business owner or business leader. It's what our employees want. We want to keep them. We want to provide that for them. So it's being able to take that information. So we say, yes, we do know what they want. Well, what have you done with that information? Have you actually listened to that? Or did you ask them what they wanted? And then that's it? Or did you ask them, what do they want? What do they need? How do they like to be recognized? How do they like to feel appreciated? Those kind of things. And so what have you done with that information is kind of a starting point for anyone who might not be doing this already. So considerations when looking at a retention plan or strategy. Total comp, obviously, cash is king, right? Everybody wants a fair compensation. And in 2022 and leading into 2023, right now there are more jobs out there than there are qualified candidates. That's just the way it is. Anybody who's doing any recruiting right now probably knows that it's a little tough to find good fits right now. That then is going to turn around and it's obviously going to drive the compensation part a little bit higher, tough on a business owner, but that's just what's going on right now with the market. So obviously part of it, yeah, total comp benefits, making sure that you're giving them competitive benefits. It's a competitive wage. That's kind of goes without speaking, but it's part of it, right? Employer flexibility. 70% of current people who are currently employed said they would leave their current position for less money if they knew the role had more flexibility. That's a big number of people. That's a lot of people that would be willing to walk away from a job and a little bit more money knowing they had that flexibility. COVID really changed the way the world works, to be honest. We had a lot of people that never thought they could work remote, and then they work remote and it works for them. They like that flexibility. Obviously there's going to be we could go all day long probably talking both sides of that of, people need to be in the office. No, people don't need to be in the office. But what the truth is there's a lot of people that were able to work from home, were very successful, or even having the hybrid schedule, the flexibility. It's what they want. That's something that is it's big out there. That's something that people are looking for. And like I said, COVID changed the way we work. So we have to be able to adjust and be flexible to that where we can. Competing with outside industries. This is another thing that's always kind of been there. But again, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen that it's actually taking a bigger hit. And so where you might have like this is an example of the forklift driver, they don't want to be in a warehouse anymore. They want, maybe they're, it's too hard on their body, or they want that flexibility. So we have forklift drivers, and we don't have enough of them out there because a lot of them are leaving that part of the world and moving into, customer service or something else. So having to compete with outside industries is going to take an impact on your candidate pool, essentially, especially in the construction industry. Interviewing goes both ways. This is something to think about also. Like I said, there's fewer candidates than there are jobs out there. So having to sell when you think of an interview, we want this candidate to come in, we're looking at them first impression, are they on time? How do they present themselves, that first impression? Did they dress for the job? That goes both ways. And that's something that I think as business leaders, we tend to forget that that candidate is interviewing us and evaluating us just as much as we are them. So make sure you're thinking about that. You're also setting that tone for that first impression. And that can also lead to a good hire versus a not such great hire. So what else can we talk? What does the workforce want in 2022? Training and development is a big thing right now. And part of it is the younger generation that's coming into the workforce that has been, preached to them, and they want to grow, they want to learn more. And so being able to invest in your employees' career path and their growth by providing that training and development and having that program, that's one of the biggest questions actually this day in HR. I've done recruiting as well. And that's what I hear a lot of people asking is, is there some sort of a training and development program? Do you have a learning? What does that look like? Is there, continuing education, different benefits as far as that stuff goes. So if you don't already have a training and development program, it's something that you should really consider, because it is something that the workforce in general is asking for. The environment that they're working in. Employees want to be in a consistent environment. They don't like the ups and downs. That's part of the flexibility also. They want to feel safe, comfortable, welcomed, and wanted. Diversity and inclusion is a big thing that people are looking for also right now. There are a lot of the workforce that looks for employers that are participating in programs like that. So again, if that's not something you're already doing, it's something you should definitely be considering. And then free of conflict. And people want to come in, they want to do their job, they want to work hard, and they want to be able to go home or log off for the day. So those are the kind of things also, evaluating your work environment that you're putting out there for your employees. Mental health. Mental health is a huge factor this now. Again, COVID kind of changed things. We started talking about mental health more. It's becoming less of a we don't talk about that kind of thing, and more of a putting it out there. And mental health isn't just depression and anxiety, right? It's about the environment and the culture that they're working in, where they feel like they can come and they can be productive. It's talking about motivation to work and just overall happiness and respect. So when we talk about mental health, it's not just going to see a counselor type of thing. We're talking about their overall environment, the overall we're setting somebody up to work and to be successful. Recognition, huge. People want to know that they're doing a good job, and it can be as little as, wow, you did a really great job, thank you. And while I think as business leaders and owners, some people are very, very good about that. And a lot of times we forget to do that. It's just, it's just the way we work. We're too busy, we're too focused, we're putting, our heads down, we're already down on to the next thing. And taking that time to show them that they're appreciated. Like I said, it could be as easy as a, good job. It could be a gift card. It can be a, rewards program of some sort, whatever that might be that works for your business. If you're don't already have some sort of employee recognition going on, it's important that you add that in. There's tons and tons of people have gotten so creative out there. I mean, you go online and look up different employee recognition programs, and there's some really cool things. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It really doesn't. A newsletter with, hey, this is the employee of the month, even if there's no prize associated with that, that's okay. Just that they need to know that they're, like I said, appreciated, that they are doing a good job. And lots of times you'll find that by providing that positive feedback, they're going to be more receptive to that constructive feedback as well at the same time. So making sure that we're remembering what they're doing good. It also makes it to where an employee feels like they're invested. When an employee does a good job and they know they're doing a good job, and you've given them kind of that, hey, keep going, keep going down that path. They are going to take more initiative. They're going to be excited. They have that ownership. They're like, yeah, this is my project. I'm proud of this project. And when they take that ownership, they're much more invested. And that's when you really will see your retention increase. So we talked about training and development. Excuse me, we have one more down here. Culture fit. Does the company culture align with the employees? Employees want to work somewhere where the culture fits for them. So do you know what your culture is? Could you even answer that question? Hey, what's the culture at your place? If you can't answer that, then how would you expect them to come in and work in that? You want to be able to, and what kind of culture are you trying to create? Maybe you're trying to create one thing, but you aren't there yet. Really focusing on that, because that's also a big part of what people are talking about when they go to, find a new job. They want to know that they're going to fit in there. Do their values align with the company? Does a company have values listed on their website, but then it doesn't even play into actual factor of the actual company and the culture? So talking about who you are as a business, what you're trying to do as a business, and making sure that that's a good fit for that employee it's a big factor right now. Talked a little bit about employees feeling appreciated. They're going to when they're actively achieving goals, their morale and productivity go up, motivation increases dramatically. And that also, as we all know, a bad apple, the negativity also gathers steam quickly, right? The positivity also weighs off. When one person's doing well and succeeding and they're going, that's going to spread also. So making sure that you're keeping that in mind at the same time. And a healthy, happy workforce is a foundation for a healthy and successful business. That's really the moral here. To win in recruiting and retention, start with putting the health and well-being of employees first. This was a statement that I read in one of the studies that I'm always constantly reading and trying to keep up on everything going on, what's current. And I really like this. To win in recruiting and retention, start with putting the health and well-being of your employees first. Again, everybody's busy. Everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's trying to keep our heads above the water. But slowing down and taking a look, if you're really going to focus on recruiting, your retention, you're going to focus on your recruiting, you're going to focus on those hires. A person's going to want to come work somewhere when they know that their health and well-being is being put before all of the other chaos and crazy and get the job done. And I don't care how many hours overtime you're working, get the job done. Those are the kind of things that employees want, that people want, the workforce wants right now. So creating a retention plan. What do you got to do to create a strategy? These are some things you can think about. Listen to your employees. We talked about that at the beginning. I always say you have 2 ears for a reason, because over my career, I've worked with a lot of leaders that are very smart and they know a lot, and that's part of why they're a leader, right? They have a lot to provide and a lot to teach. But sometimes leaders forget, because we know and we're trying to teach and we're like, come on, let's go. We forget that to actively listen. So thinking about, are you actually listening to what they have to say? And that's what I always tell them, you have 2 ears for a reason, 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means to listen twice as much as you're talking is what I try to preach to my leaders. And I mean that in a fun way. Creating professional development opportunities for your employees. They want to be able to grow. That's a big thing, a big thing right now, especially for that younger generation that's coming up. They want to know what the next step is. They want to have something to be looking forward to. So keeping that in mind of knowing, career pathing or succession planning and being able to have that laid out. Do you have a program like that? Have you even talked about that? Have you thought about that? If you haven't, reach out to me. Let's talk about it, because there's all kinds of things you can do for that are super easy. You can get it real complex. You don't even need a fancy software program. You can just do it all yourself. So just having something is better than nothing. Ensure you have the right leaders in place that are driving your vision and expectations. I can't tell you how many times I have worked with business owners that have their number 2 or number 3 in command underneath them that are doing something completely different than what their vision is. Making sure you have, when we talk about having the right employees, that they're in the right place to be able to prevent turnover. Look at your leaders first. If you have high turnover, is there something going on with your leaders that you have working that are leading our employees? It's a good starting point. Another common mistake we all make is we have a really great employee that's really great at their job, and so the next step for them is to be the supervisor of that department. Great employees don't necessarily make great leaders, right? Lots of times they think they want that, they're excited for that next step, but they might not have the leadership skills to be able to do that. They did a great job mentoring, but being a leader versus being a mentor are 2 different things, to be totally honest. And so making sure that if you are doing that, and we are putting leaders into, if it's a newer person, they've never really led anyone, even if it's somebody who has been a leader before, a manager before, making sure that we're providing those leaders with the training that they need to be successful is huge, because that also trickles down line, right? So we put a leader into a position that they just aren't quite ready for. We didn't give them any of the training and support that they needed. Not only is it going to affect that, we just lost that great employee who we moved into that leadership role, who now is feeling like they're failing, and we've already lost that one, but that affects everybody down line. So making sure that we're putting those leaders into a position where they can be successful is key. We talked about career paths, career advancement opportunities, new hire experience in your onboarding process. What does that look like? How many of you have had a new hire start and you're like, oh God, it's Monday, I totally forgot they were starting, and you're like, let me get the paperwork together, and it's frantic and we're scrambling, we're doing this, and we're like, oh, sorry, it's not usually like this. That's their first impression of you and your leadership, right? They've interviewed with you maybe, but that's really what their first impression is going to be. To me, yes, I'm in a career in HR, but when I start a job, if that's my first experience, I'm going, oh boy, that's a red flag. It happens, sure, miscommunication, things like that, but look at your new hire, your onboarding process, look at your new hires that you've brought on. How was their experience? Because I can tell you the opposite side of that, when somebody has an amazing new hire experience, that sets the tone for them where they're already like, all right, this is the place I want to be, versus a terrible first day or first week where it's unorganized. They kind of just were sitting there. They didn't really know what to do. They're like doing online training for an entire 2 weeks. Those kind of things, looking at that. And that's another thing where if you don't have a great onboarding process or new hire process right now, reach out to me. I would love to help you set that up, because it makes a huge difference when you look to retention. I've actually had employees in former jobs where their first day was not good their first week even wasn't great. HR part, we did our part, but then their manager just didn't really do much with it. And they were gone within a month, they left. So we put all that time and effort and money and resources into bringing that person on board, and they're gone within a month because of that first day. So make sure that you're looking at that also. Continuously monitor your turnover risks. Just because you took a look at it once a year ago, that's not going to help you today. So making sure that you're looking at that, making sure you're talking about that, talk about it with your leaders. Do exit interviews with employees who are resigning and who are leaving. Obviously, if they're being terminated because it's a different story, but if they're choosing to leave, do the exit interview. Take the time to talk to them and have that in place. It's going to give you lots of good information to be able to then prevent that down the road. And sometimes we don't want to talk about the turnover, like, right? We don't like to talk about the bad stuff. We want to try to focus on the good stuff. We don't want to have to worry, oh, well, they were, a bad hire. Let's talk about it. Talk about it with your leaders so that you are aware of it so you can fix it. Because if you don't try to fix the problem, it's just going to keep happening. Recognizing employees, ensure that they're appreciated. We've talked about that. Creating the flexible work environment. Like I said, if that's not something you're already doing, how can you bring that back in? How can you make that work for your business? Some businesses just can't, right? There's going to be jobs where that's obviously not the case. But if you can't have them working from home, what can you do to create that flexibility then for the role that they're in? What other things can you do? And then, like I said, understanding your turnover, making sure you're talking about it, don't avoid it. So this is what an employment cycle, when you are focusing on retention, we talked about at the beginning, that circle, the endless circle of failure, essentially, because you just keep going round and round and round. So this talks a little bit about some steps if you're in your cycle, when you are focusing on retention. And we kind of do a loop-de-loop here. But there is no circle, doesn't it? It shoots them out to retention, and then you get to start over with the next person. Reviewing your job description. So we're going to kind of review what we talked about already. You're going to review that job description. You're going to look at those turnover risks. You're going to identify the skills and experiences you want for that role, and then you're going to create your screening questions for that job based on that information. Now, what if you have, 5 different job titles that you're hiring for, right? Maybe you have 5 different job titles within your business, small business. You can do this and do it once, but every 6 months or so, kind of reevaluate it. But if you don't have to do this every single time you're hiring for that position. You can do this, like I said, I recommend every 6 months or so, kind of just checking in, making sure that that's still the right fit. Because what happens? Jobs change, right? Job duties change a little bit. We adapt. This person's taking on more, so we're going to change this position just a little bit. So making sure you're doing that. But take the time to do that before the interview. If you take the time, you're recruiting, and you're going to take that time out of your schedule to sit down and actually interview someone, set yourself up for success by doing this, by preparing for it. Don't just go in there and wing it, because you're not going to get the information out that you need to be effective in order to then be able to have a good hire to move on to having a higher retention. So create those screening questions based on the data that we just talked about. Hire the right person for the job, right? Obviously, big part. Provide the competitive benefits, or competitive compensation and benefits. If you're a small business and you don't supply benefits, that's all right. Look at what other businesses are doing. Talk to other business thought leaders. What are you guys doing to, help out with this? What are you doing for your employees? Talk to other people. Networking is huge. Like I said, there's a lot of creative people out there that are doing some really cool things. That new hire and onboarding experience. I can't stress that enough, how important that is for somebody coming in I had a friend of mine in HR that had a manager. Their company as a whole would give out these little new hire, they called them new hire kits. And it was like some branded, it was like a lunch bag with a whole bunch of company branded stuff in it, right? A notebook and a pen and a water bottle and the lunch sack. And so their whole company, new hires get it, they hand it to them on their first day, they're like, yeah, that's cool. A friend of mine had a manager that took it to the next step. They took that new hire package and had it all laid out on their desk, had a pen sitting there, had it ready to go, had their business card. They just took it one step further, just one step further. And that manager's retention was significantly less than others because they were creating that new hire and on this positive new hire experience and that onboarding experience for that employee. It just showed that they cared. It showed that they want to be there. Now, I think that there was other factors probably with that retention, not just because they took it that step further, but that's just one thing. Like I said, there's little things you can do that they cost you 5 minutes. It didn't cost you anything financially. It's just the time part of it. Continuous communication. Are you talking to your employees? Are you talking to, do you understand their needs? Do you understand what they're wanting? Do you understand that? Are you actually talking to them? Continuous communication with your leaders, with your employees, with your coworkers, with your manager. If you're the owner, talk to other business owners. Having that communication of knowing and staying up on what's current and what you need to be doing is huge. Show employees that you care about their health and well-being. We talked about that. And then as that goes, you'll see your engagement increases, your productivity will increase, and your retention will continue to grow. And you'll have longer term employees, and you'll start seeing it just slowly happen. And next thing you know, you're 5 years down the road, and you're having to do a lot less interviewing because you've already been able to retain a lot of those great employees. And again, like I said, this one, it's not that endless circle because we send them on their way and then you just start over, review that job description, bring in another good one. And that's what I have for you guys as far as that goes. I wanted to leave a few minutes for any questions anybody might have. I know that they wanted to stay within that 40 or 50 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, by all means, Frank and I both would love to answer those. Again, my contact information is there, so please feel free to reach out if you'd rather talk offline as well.
We do have about 10 to 15 more minutes left, so we're good on the time. As far as questions, I haven't seen any pop up in the chat. Oh, there we go. Don M. How small of a company will you take on?
Frank, I think we have a company that has 3 employees, I think.
Yeah, ideally, we serve clients from about 5 to 50, but we've got, clients with 2 to 3. If you're going to grow, that fits in well, and we can really help you grow from there.
And then I've got one myself. I had a client once upon a time that was suffering massive turnover, and the standard protocol there was to simply promote the people that were already in place to the management positions that filed out, and then hire brand new people off the street for the lower level position. And it was a recurring chain. Does that seem like a successful strategy to you, or do you have any input on how that works?
I mean, how successful was your friend? I'm sure it wasn't.
Oh, it was a client. They called a small business consultant for a reason.
Yeah.
So.
No, it doesn't work, right? We all know that. We're all guilty of it. We have this, one of the places I worked, we had a technician that was a genius. I mean, all the newer techs went to him. He did a great job coaching and mentoring them and teaching them. And supervisor role opens up, and I want more pay and less in the field, and I get to be in the office more and teach more. Great. And within 6 months, he wanted to quit. He didn't even want to work for our company anymore. And so, like I said, I used that example earlier of just because they're a really great technician or really great at the job that they're in now doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be that great leader. You actually might have somebody else who isn't the top performer in that department that would be an outstanding leader. So that's why you're wanting to continuously communicate, talk to your employees. When this guy came to me and said he wanted to quit, I'm going, wait a minute. I thought, he goes, well, to be honest, I didn't really think I was ready for the supervisor role, but I didn't feel like I could say no. It was an assumption on his manager's part of pushing him into that position. He didn't have that conversation with him. He didn't give the guy a chance to say, no, I don't know if this is the right fit for me. Didn't give him that chance to say no and realize that he could say no, and that's okay. That leader didn't give him that opportunity, and so we were able to salvage it, and help him out and make sure he felt like he could be successful, because he just felt like he was letting everybody down. So you're just setting yourself up for failure if you aren't having those conversations, if you're not making sure that they're actually qualified for that leadership role, because again, a great employee in that department doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best leader for that department. And if they need those, they want to try it, make sure you're setting them up for success by providing them the resources that they need, the support they need, the training they need. Have they ever been a leader before? Do they even know, how to be a great leader? Have we given them some sort of online leadership training or something to an in-person course or whatever it might be? And so we want to, set our employees up for success. So no, that is probably one of the bigger, I think, issues we have in promoting employees to a leadership role.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to that is you really have to vet with the employee if they want to do that, right? Because they might think they want to do it just because it's kind of the thing to do, right? I got to advance my career. I got to move into management. That's what I have to do, where you really have to vet with them. Hey, here's really what this is going to look like. Does this make sense? And what I tell people is, our parents and our parents' careers used to look like ladders, right? You used to talk about a career ladder where you would move up. Well, these days it's more like a climbing wall where you might move across, or you might move up, or you might move even down to advance your career. So it doesn't necessarily just mean, hey, moving up is the best thing for me. I can do better in the long run for me and for the company by really taking a look at where I fit best.
Yep.
Looks like
I totally
we have
agree.
another question here from Kim Williams as well.
Thank you for the presentation. I did have a question. I know some folks who have done interviews in the past, and they tend to fixate, especially when they're newer managers, they fixate more on the technical aptitudes in the resume. And they may hear the applicant's responses to questions and feel them favorable, but they don't necessarily have a feel for the person, their attitudes, their motivations, their temperament. And so I wanted to see whether or not you guys had any advice as to how to deal with the nuances between what you see on paper, between what you might hear in the interview, because obviously there's a motivation or an agenda for that person in that room to try to get the job. Between those things and what you may actually see performance-wise when they actually have gotten the job, and how to parse out what is a good, I hate to use the word cultural fit, but for lack of a better term, what is a good fit for that organization or business?
Sure. And this I think goes back to what we just talked about is do they know how to effectively interview someone? Have they, what training do they have on that? They think they can, if they can look at a resume, you can see skills that cross over, right? That's the easy part. And I joke around, I don't joke around with our recruiters because I appreciate recruiters very much and what they do. But, when I was in a recruiting position years ago, I had my teenage kids saying, okay, I told, here's the job description, here's the resume, because it was like a mass hire we had to do. Find the things that match up and hand me those resumes, right? That's essentially, that's the easier part of recruiting. The hard part of recruiting and interviewing is finding that culture fit, because those aren't just usually an answer that somebody can tell you, and they don't write, you can't see that on paper. So what training, what experience do they have with that? Have they got, there's all sorts of online opportunities and the different courses that you can take, or there's people out there, or, like I said, give me a call. I'll help, teach about how to do that. There's tons of resources out there on effective interviewing, essentially. And it is a skill. It's a skill to be able to pull that out of somebody in a half an hour interview or an hour interview, to be able to get that from. I mean, you think about it, you might spend a half an hour to maybe 2 or 3 hours with someone, and you're like, yep, you're the right fit for us, and come and do this really important job for us. It's kind of rolling the dice. So I think experience plays a big part in it. And if they don't have a lot of experience, then I would be getting somebody into a course of training course of some sort of learning how to interview effectively, to where, hey, you do really good at seeing the skills part of it, and that's awesome. But there's a whole nother part that, like I said, like we just talked about for the last 40 minutes about, looking at beyond that, not just the skills, but looking at what is the other part of the job, which is huge and really important. And it's important for you as a business, as a leader, for your business, but also for the candidate, making sure that they're being able to talk about that and see that for them too. So my first thing would say, how much experience do they have interviewing? Do they even know that they should be looking for that? Have we taught them that? Have we coached them through that? And getting them, some sort of training and education on, effective interviewing.
Yeah, the things I would add to that is, the behavioral based interviewing is great. Also too is broaden the team, perhaps. If you do panel interviews or rounds of interviews, different people on the team will help understand if it's a good fit for the team. The other thing is to do kind of, I don't know if it's role play or opportunities for them to present, depending on what kind of position, or if you're going to do something that goes out in the field, do a ride along so they really see what the job is. And then that gives them an opportunity to get to know somebody in a little bit more opportunity. So there's things like that can help them understand your culture, because it's a fit for them and you understand them.
Thank you.
So I'd like to jump in here. We have a question from Catherine in regards to the use of Zoom and Teams in trying to do interviewing. Do you have any secrets or keys to success on deciphering the body language, or how do you approach those for interviews?
I think that for all of us that have been using Teams and Zoom for a while, I think at first it was an adjustment. I feel just as comfortable talking to people on Teams and Zoom as I do, and, especially with the video. If video is not on, a different story. But, I try to approach it in the same way as if they were in the room for me personally. And, interviews are nerve-wracking. Everybody's a little nervous. The candidates they're usually a little stressed out. They have technology to worry about. They have to try to present themselves over this camera. And so for me, I always approach it in a way of trying to put them at ease. So I try to just talk to them like they're in the room sitting next to me, casual, yes, we're interviewing, yes, it's a professional environment, but we're trying to have a good conversation. I've always thought and felt that a great interview is really just it's just us having a conversation. If I can't sit there and we can't talk and have a normal conversation kind of back and forth, then we're probably not going to fit together. And so being able to have that, that's the kind of thing we're looking for. So I just try to approach it at putting them at ease. And knowing, trusting my instincts, trusting, as a business leader, your business, what you're looking for, asking the right questions, taking that time to prepare to make sure you're asking those right questions. But how you present yourself as the interviewer makes a big difference on what you're going to get back from that person on the other end of the camera, essentially. And if you're not comfortable, you personally as the interviewer are not comfortable, then like what Frank just talked about, like role play practice, that's what I would be doing. I would be practicing with somebody I'm comfortable with, who I can trust to give me feedback. And so I think that's to get you more comfortable in front of the camera, and doing a Zoom interview is going to make your interview much more successful for both people.
Okay, well, thank you, Lindsay. I see Emily has her hand up. I'm glad to see you're here, Emily. So go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks so much for the presentation, Lindsay. You maybe already touched on this, but I'm curious about what would you say is like the biggest mistake that you see in the realm of recruiting, retention, and motivation. I think you had mentioned like hiring the wrong person might be like make it to the top, but I'm curious, like, in addition to that, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that occur in this
I
realm?
think that we rush to hire somebody. We rush to put somebody else into we need to fill the role, right? We're trying to hurry up, we need to fill it. So we rush to fill that into that position. I think that's the first mistake that we make, is that's where we get that bad hire, right? I think it is, if you're looking at retention and basing it off of what you as a leader or as a business owner, what you think is going to retain your employees versus not listening to those employees is really going to make a big difference. So I think those two things are going to be your biggest mistakes. If you're not listening and you're not actively communicating with your employees as to what their needs are and what their wants are, and you're basing it just off of you, and, it goes back, like I said, I think I touched on that earlier, was effective leadership. Are we leading our employees how we think we want them, how we want to lead, or are we changing and adapting? Everybody responds different to leadership styles, right? I want to be led different than the person next to me. And some leaders are in the mindset of, this is me and this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And I think that in currently in 2022, 2023, that's not going to work. Essentially, you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to adjust, and you don't have to change completely who you are as a leader. That's not at all. We want individuals, we want you to be you and who you are and bring what your strengths to the table. But you also need to understand that one person, you can't instruct. It's kind of like learning styles. Everybody learns different. Everybody takes feedback different. Some people need a lot of feedback. Some people need a pat on the back. Some people don't need that. So it's being able to evaluate each person's needs. And so that's why I say, creating a retention program based off of what you think is a good retention strategy, without even getting the feedback or the information from your employees, I think is a big mistake also.
Well, thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, Frank, for coming and doing this outstanding presentation today. We will have your presentations available in the digital Dropbox. So if you have any questions, I see that we have Lindsay's contact information in the chat, if you need to contact her directly. And so with that, we are moving into the next section here. So again, thanks, Frank, and thanks, Lindsay. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Andrew. Well, maybe he's off. Okay, so the next section is the prime panel. And today we have with us 3 hand-selected prime contractors doing work at the Port of Seattle. And we're gonna let each one of them do a small presentation, and then we'll have kind of a roundtable discussion. And, you know, we hope that you have some good questions for them. So first up, we have Robert Meisel from Miller Hull, and then we'll have Alex Reluda from Reluda Architects, and then Stephanie Abla from Mortensen. And so with that, we'll start with Rob.
Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here today. Miller Hull has been doing a couple of different projects with the port. Are you sharing my slides, Leslie, or am I sharing my own?
You can go ahead and we'll be here to catch you if something goes awry.
Okay, hang on just a second then. So Miller Hull is a firm that has a foundation in working with public entities. We're very proud to be working with the Port of Seattle on a couple of projects right now, but we are a multi-market firm. We work in these 5 market sectors. They go from everywhere from small cabins to embassies all around the world. And 2 of our projects with the port are projects I'm going to just mention briefly. I've just got a few slides here. And I did want to point to the mission and vision that the port has. We've been able to help the port leverage these goals, in particular, the one at the bottom, the Seattle Century Agenda, to be the greenest, most energy efficient port in North America. That aligns well with our own mission, which is to do good, go deep, and be bold. And sustainability is very important to our firm. The first project I just wanted to mention was the Maritime Innovation Center. This is in Fisherman's Terminal. You can see Queen Anne in the background in downtown there. This is really a maker space that has reimagined an older building that's in the Fisherman's Terminal area. It's intended to be an innovation incubator and accelerator, and there are going to be multiple short-term tenants in this space, and they're going to be working on bringing different products to market, and there will be one prime tenant. So you can see this is how we envision the project looking. Our teams end up being very diverse and sometimes kind of large. This project is on the water, so we have a number of small and WIMBY businesses that are assisting us with this. And so we are looking for those kinds of firms that can help us with the specialties that we have. Another shot of the inside. And then the other project that we have is it's called the Sea Concourse Expansion. This project is in design right now. We just reached our 60% design mark, and looking forward to completing that early next year, but construction has already begun on certain aspects of the project. This is another highly sustainable project for the port. Actually includes a large PV array, which we're thrilled to see at SEA. And some of the interior improvements include enhanced airport dining and retail, and a re-envisioned concourse just across from where the C2 gates are right now. So it's a much larger airport dining and retail facility. So again, similar, we have a large consultant team on this. And so we're always looking to facilitate new relationships with people that would be interested in participating with us on these projects. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to someone else at this point.
Thank you, Rob. We do have a question in the chat. Catherine would like to know if you are an architectural firm or a contractor.
No, I'm sorry. We are an architecture firm. I should have mentioned that up front. Apologies. Yeah, we are a design firm.
Okay, and then also, if you could go ahead and put your contact information in the chat.
Sure.
You're a popular guy, so they want to.
Okay, happy to do that.
We'll have some other questions down the road here pretty quick, but next up we have Alex Reluda from Reluda Architects, and Alex, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, let's see, I got kicked out, so I had to change computers here, so bear with me. I'm gonna share my screen. All right, so a little bit about Relut Architects. We're located here in historic Pioneer Square in downtown Seattle, and we do a wide range of projects, as you can see here. Oregon State University work, University of Washington Ethnic Cultural Center. As Rob, also we're doing work at SeaTac Airport, and we do work here on the bottom right for the NOAA. This is just a rendering of hopefully a future fisheries research facility in Mukilteo. Very diverse staff. We like to have fun. This is one of the Halloween parties. Just go through here really quickly. And what we do is full design, architectural design. We do planning, we do programming, sustainable design. We have interior department that does interior design. We're currently doing some interior work for King County, for Lumen, and the Boeing Company. And here's a little picture of our office doing a design charrette. This is our mandala here on the right. These are our core values of integrity. We deliver on what we say we're going to do, diversity with inclusion. That's purposeful, and you'll see later in our DEI statement how diverse we are. Sustainability, not just for the environment, but also sustainable as far as a corporation and company in being sustainable through the ups and downs, and social responsibility, in that we give back to the community. Many of us at our office contribute volunteer time to different design review committees throughout the Seattle Northwest region. And then respect for our co-workers, our clients, and to the practice that we chose to be in. Our core value is transforming architecture through the power of collaboration and diversity. And this is purposeful. So this is the leadership at Relut Architects. All of us have over 30 years of experience and diverse experience, whether it's higher ed, K-12, municipal work, transportation, light industrial. We pretty much have it covered here within leadership, and they each manage their own studios, but employees can jump from one studio to another and get a broad range of experience in different project types. So aerospace, as I indicated, work at SeaTac Airport, and then also with the Boeing Company doing assembly line. This is actually a photograph of their automated spray method 737 MAX a robotic paint booth. Transportation, currently under construction, is one of the stations that we designed. It's 185th Street station up in Shoreline. We also worked on the maintenance operations facility in their Bellevue facility. Municipal work, we do pump stations. We were on the team that worked on the convention center expansion. We do civic centers, police stations. And then we do a lot of on-call, have a lot of on-call clients. And you can see here a myriad of on-call clients that we have of note. The National Park Service, where we're going to be doing some work over in Alcatraz in San Francisco in updating that existing historical site. You know what, this is not the updated slide that I wanted to show, but what I wanted to talk about was the diversity and inclusion within our office. We have over, well, let me see if I can pull it really quickly. We have over 12 nations here in our office that are represented, 10 different languages that can be spoken, and well, never mind. And so it's very purposeful, and we really enjoy having diverse ways of looking at problems and solving problems. And with that comes a certain amount of understanding, tolerance, and people coming from different backgrounds. And so being able to incorporate their ideas, understanding their ideas, even if their language is different, we speak the same language of architecture. So to be able to communicate in a way that we truly understand the meaning of what they're saying. So that's it for us, for me.
Well, thanks, Alex. I do have a question for you though, real quick before we
Mhm.
move on to Stephanie. So for each of you, Rob, Alex, and Stephanie, one of the things that our audience today is looking for are opportunities to work with you.
Mhm.
And so, if you have a place on your website for subcontractors, if you have small business goals, numbers and stuff. So I'll give you a little bit of time to mull that over. And then after Stephanie gets done, then we'll come back to everybody with hopefully lots more questions. So thanks, Alex. And we'll hand it over to Stephanie Abla.
So I'm Stephanie Abla. I am the Community Affairs Manager for Mortensen. I've been with Mortensen for a year now. So if you have questions and I don't have the answers to them, bear with me, but I'll make sure to get you the answers. So real quick about Mortensen, we've been in the Northwest for about 40 years. We have an office here in Seattle and in Portland. We have over 200 members, and we're a really great place to work at and with. We're great partners. These are kind of the core markets that we focus on. A lot of healthcare, a lot of higher education, high rises, sports. We're also known for our sports. We just wrapped up the Climate Pledge Arena last year in Seattle. Aviation, of course. We also do a lot of work with the Port of Seattle. And we're a really diversified company. We work in a lot of different markets, and we like to keep it this way. Our other operating groups throughout the nation also do a lot of solar and wind and data centers as well. Of course, this is a very limited view, but our key customers are Port of Seattle, Everett Community College, the healthcare field, as we've mentioned, and a bunch of other private companies as well. Leslie, you kind of touched on this, and I'm glad I have a slideshow on this, but we recently introduced our supplier diversity and workforce diversity goals for the Seattle office. We have always worked with our customers to fulfill their WMBE goals, but we kind of wanted to have our own program. So for the Seattle office, the supplier diversity goal is 18% WMBE firms participating on our project. And we also want to make sure that our workforce is diverse. So we aim for 12% women and 25% minority. For these goals, if a customer has no goals, then we will implement our Mortensen goals. And if our customers' goals are lower than ours, we'll also try to achieve those. And those numbers, we obviously care so much more about including WMBEs in our projects and partnering with them. So it's not just about reaching these numbers. These numbers are just to hold us accountable, that there's a threshold and this is what we should be aiming for. But truly, truly, it's about creating a long impact in the community, making sure that WMBE firms, small businesses can, right after they leave our project, can still thrive and develop so much more than when they had just joined. So I'll just discuss real quick some current and upcoming opportunities. Again, this is not the full scope of things. We're still, winning some projects that are not on there that hopefully in another panel I'll get to introduce. But in a nutshell, I'll make this real quick. We are currently working on the Swedish First Hill Transformation Project. Those include 2 buildings, the B95 and the North Tower. That's ongoing. And of course, we always welcome WMBE opportunities for participation. We're currently building the Kaiser Permanente Ambulatory Surgery Center. Those are 3 different projects. We've already started on this, and we welcome any opportunity for WMBE participation. This is the UDPA lot, Sea Hotel, where it still hasn't started, but it's on our upcoming opportunity. 4106 Tower as well, private one. We welcome WMBE participation on that as well. AMLI 1101, also in the city. 5th and Lenora, also in the city of Seattle, currently in design, I believe. And Western Washington University, we are building their electrical engineering and computer science building. There's the Western Washington University has a really firm WMBE, small business, veteran-owned businesses, and Native American-owned business requirements for this. They want them to be OMWBE certified as well. So again, please reach out if you are interested in this opportunity. With the Port of Seattle, we're very happy to work with them on the SeaTac main terminal low voltage electrical project. It will start soon, and most of the scopes has been already awarded for this, but if you're still interested, just reach out and we can try to find an opportunity. University of Washington, we're working on their performance and basketball ops building. This still hasn't started, so we welcome any opportunity. If you are not partners with us, there is a pre-qualification process that you would have to go through. Please reach out to me and I'll make it happen. I'll have to go through our risk management department, and I can put you in contact with them. Even if we currently don't work on a project together, it's good to have that pre-qualification done so that, you know, it can just facilitate the work. We have a great safety standard. A lot of times before I even joined Mortensen, and I would always research about them or hear about them, it's always safety, safety, safety. And when I joined, that is something that is really true. We focus a lot on safety. It's the most important value and principle at Mortensen. And we expect and hope that our trade partners also take that into consideration and value it. And it's just for the better of everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm also going to drop my contact details in the chat, and I'll also make sure to have a link of our trade partner opportunity pages. Basically, all the opportunity projects we just went through, they're found on our Seattle Mortensen website on the trade partner link, but I'll make sure to include that in there. And thank you so much.
All right, so we'll use the rest of our time just on Q&A across the board. There are questions aplenty. The first question, which was answered in chat, is Mortensen a contractor? And the chat responded that you are a general contractor. Is that accurate?
Yes, general contractor.
So here we go. That's the warm-up. That's the easy one. So what is the best way to connect with you and other companies like yours, become partners with you in the future? This comes from Emily from Port of Seattle, and it's to all of you. How do we connect with you and other companies? How do we get these guys in as subs or even joint ventures if they would be so inclined? How do you guys start that ball rolling? And let's just go through, we'll start with Stephanie since she's already right here, and just go through each of you with a reply to that.
Sure. Sorry, I was just typing my contact details, but so the best way that I've found that I make relationship with WMBEs, that I develop them and you know, move forward with them is just reach out to us. If you just go on our website, you'll see that at the trade partner page, there's a form that you can fill, and this doesn't go into oblivion. It actually comes to my email, and I actually reply back and set up a call and get to know the firm or the business. And that's how actually a lot of WMBEs have gotten to work on our projects. They've just reached out to me or reached out to anyone at Mortensen in Seattle. We have multiple offices throughout the nation. So make sure that you reach out to the Seattle one if you're interested. And they will put you in contact with me or just talk to you directly. But the best way is just reach out through our website. Again, as I mentioned, I'm new, so I'm still trying to embed myself in the community, but I'm usually at a lot of events. I attend trade organization events and events such as these and try to promote Mortensen and make sure that we're out there. So if you see me, please don't be shy. I'm a very nice person. Just approach me and we can make this happen.
How about you, Alex? You look like you're unmuted and ready to go. What's the best way to get in connection with your company?
Well, I just sent my contact information on the chat, but as far as meeting with us and for us to learn more about you, we attend regional contracting forums. There's actually a Sound Transit one that's going to happen in Muckleshoot next Tuesday. We will be there. We will have a table or a booth, and we will be receiving portfolios, resumes, capability statements for minority-owned firms that want to work with us. We're also an MBE, DBE, SCS firm, and when we first started, I was the one that would go to these forums and present Relut architects to the larger firms, the construction companies for possible design build opportunities. And so we've grown from there. Now we man our own tables, but that's one good way, or just contact us directly, contact me directly and send me your capability statement. We keep a database of firms that want to work with us, and we always update that.
We have a similar,
Rob, your turn.
sorry, jumping in already. We have a similar approach to Alex. We also attend the regional contracting forums. I would also encourage you to attend the Ports Industry Days because I've had a lot of opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation. Both of those events are really great for that. And frankly, that gives you exposure to so many different companies. I would really, take advantage of those opportunities when they come up. I did put it in the chat, Jay Martinez at Miller Hull, that's our marketing director. You may contact her. She may be able to give you some more specific project pursuit information at any one time. I tend to work in a couple of our different market sectors, but I'm not exposed to everything that we have going on in the firm. So she's one person. You also can just send something to me, and my email address is up further in the chat. Our goals are to have regular support and selection of at least 15% WIMBY on all of our projects. I would say that, we seek those on both our public and private projects. And I'm happy to say that, we have a fairly diverse slate of projects. We're about 50% public, 50% private. And I didn't do a very good job of describing some of our clients, but we work with the University of Washington. We also do work all over the state with local municipalities. And the way we usually pursue projects is as a sole prime often. So if we get shortlisted for a project, that's when we usually start to try to collect and put together our design team. And we look for people who have skill set in the areas that we're looking for, but we also are interested in mentoring firms too. And so we try to build teams with, even if you are a sub to someone who does your discipline, we are interested in having you participate just so you can get that experience. And the other thing about Miller Hull is that, we generally like to approach our projects from a very integrated standpoint. So, we are not trying to hire people just so they can work on CA, for example. We want you to be included in the design process, hopefully from very early on in design, so that you have the benefit of learning and understanding what goes into a design process. And to use the two examples I gave, especially in the larger projects where you might not have the opportunity to work with someone at the Port of Seattle at SEA, for example. So, there are other things we do to try to make sure that billing doesn't become an issue for you, just, to streamline that process, because, we know you're down the chain. We pay when we get paid. The Port's a very good client. They pay promptly, but we want to make sure that you get your money when you need it. So anyway, I think I kind of answered a couple of those questions at least.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here. Thank you so much, Stephanie, Rob, and Alex for being on this panel today. We really appreciate you being here and answering some of these questions. I think following up on just what your answers that you've given so far and putting two and two together. So more generally, like it would be good if as a WIMBY, if they want to start these relationships, find if they have a community engagement person, that's the person they want to go to. If there isn't one, then probably marketing, somebody who's in marketing. And if not, just like really anybody, maybe one of the principals, and attach your capability statement. Is that an accurate summary?
Yes, very accurate.
Great.
Yeah, I would
And
agree.
and I'd say on your capability statement, make sure that you have all your certifications updated and your numbers there as well. And then the different areas that that you're interested in, and so that we know. And also piggybacking on what Rob said, a lot of the projects we as primes know are coming out years in advance. And so start marketing early and making those connections.
Yep.
Especially at the port.
Thank you.
And then another question that popped up in the chat is, and we're running a little on the short side for time. We've only got about 11 minutes left and there are a lot of questions to go. So maybe if you could just spend a minute or so talking about your experience pursuing contracts at the port and how you're engaging with your partners during that process. And we could start with Stephanie.
Okay. Hi, Emily. It's good to see you. You just popped up on my chat. So actually, it really depends on the kind of delivery method that the port is choosing. But usually when it's a GCCM, we can't really go in there with anyone. You'll have to bid it out, and then we see how that goes down the road. But we make sure that we get a lot of WMBEs involved. But we just currently won a project, and we went in there with 2 WMBE partners, and the way we did it is our project team just sits around the table and looks at the project, and then we see the scopes of work that are for that project, and we just go through the list of trade partners that are out there. As the community engagement person, it's obviously my agenda to push WMBEs, and I was very successful for that Port of Seattle pursuit. I was able to push 2 of our main trade partners that were going to partner up with us on this project, and they got the job. And so again, it just really depends on the different delivery method that the customer has chosen. Whenever possible, I will always push for WMBE participation.
Maybe
Right,
I can
Alex,
jump.
how about you? Or
Oh,
Rob?
sorry.
You got Rob?
No, it's fine.
Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry. The port pursuits we've had have been sort of qualifications based, and oftentimes it's really the prime qualifications that they're looking for initially. We submit our qualifications, we go through an interview process, and then the port often sets a goal for WIMBY participation, which we truly try to exceed. When we read the RFQ, in our eyes, that's when our outreach, well, really, it should have already started. But ideally, what's happened is that we've connected with somebody like you guys who have expressed an interest, and doing business development takes some time. So I will encourage you to, you have to get to know people, and that takes effort on both sides. But you have to put yourself in a position where you begin to talk to someone and get to know them, and maybe understand kind of what they're looking for, what they've got, what slate of projects they're looking at, and how your company can potentially help them. So ideally, we will think about you. Because we've talked to you. But sometimes we find ourselves in a place where we're going to the OMWBE website, and a lot of times we reach out to people we know, looking for people who know somebody. So it can be a challenge. So do your best to make yourself known.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that. Relut Architects has one of the on-call contracts at SeaTac at the Port of Seattle. And so that's an opportunity for us to bring in other small businesses that we want to try out at the airport and see if the fit works right for us, and that that they have the capabilities and qualifications to do the work. So that's one option. We have other on-call contracts with other municipalities. So there's different avenues that we can engage in to bring in MWBE firms, and we're always looking for new talent. And so, of course, there are the firms that specialize in the different sectors, whether it's K-12, municipal, light industrial. So we do a lot of different, we're in different sectors. Reach out to us and we'll see if there is a fit there.
If I may add as well, another resource that I found very helpful is the Vendor Connect website for the Port of Seattle. As the supplier diversity person at Mortensen, you know, if I'm looking for someone, most of for example, the airport projects require like firms that have badges and you know, all of that already. So I'll just go on the Vendor Connect website and I'll look for the WMBE or the small business that's registered there, because I believe they also sort of have the badging already through. So that has been very helpful for me to use.
And the next one that comes up is actually a pretty good one. It's from Catherine Meters. She's asking, and this is to all of you, do you typically choose the same DBE firms or do you have a method for selecting different ones? And so I think this is wondering into sole sourcing, having a reliable, stable guy versus going into the pool over and over again. So if you could each just touch on how that works for you.
I can start. On our on-call contract, we actually have more than one consultant in each discipline. And so we'll have a larger firm and then a smaller firm typically underneath them, so that the smaller firm can learn from the larger firm that we've been doing work with in the past. But we have on-call contracts with different municipalities. So I would say reach out to us and just show us your qualifications. And if we see a fit, it could be a small project, but just a chance for us to get to know each other. So the answer is we don't always stick to the same DBE firms, though we do. We'll put the tried and true firms that we've worked with typically as a first tier, and then bring in the new firms underneath them or an association with them.
Yeah, our approach is similar. Obviously, we do cultivate strong relationships with our consultants, and you know, where we know they can perform, we like to use them. But I would say that, you know, not every project is going to be as big as the one that we have at the port right now. So we are always looking for new firms that we can use, and sometimes the smaller projects are the best ones to try them out on. And then, you know, if that goes well, then we say, well, let's try this one. And again, it becomes an issue of getting to know each other and becoming familiar with how one another works and kind of what our expectations are of a consultant. But I think this was asked. I just can't underscore enough. You know, we are always looking for new people, but we do like to rely on our tried and true.
It's pretty much the same for Mortensen. Also being new in my role and in the industry and the company, I don't really know who those people are. So for me, I'm always meeting new people. And I think that's a benefit that I add to Mortensen. I've introduced, I know it's not a lot, but about 5 new WMBEs this year to our projects and just to building relationships. Similar, just please reach out, and we would love to build new relationship and connect with new firms. And
oh, if I may add one last thing is, if it is going to be a port project or maybe a major municipality, I recommend that you have your things ready to go right away. As soon as we say, we need your overhead rates, we need your profit rates, all that should be established so that you know, we can submit you when we submit our information to the port or whoever it may be. So.
Okay, it looks like we're kind of wrapping up on the questions. I know there's a million more. I have a lot of questions, but I don't think the 3 minutes we have left would do them justice. And so I encourage everybody to just reach out through the emails. It's all been dropped into chat. We have the Dropbox link to everyone's presentation available as well. And with a couple more minutes left, is there anything else the rest of you would like to say on your panel?
I just want to thank everyone. Thank you for hosting Mortensen, and thank you to my great colleagues. It was great meeting you, and thank you for all the questions. Please reach out if you have any more questions, and check out our website. Thank you.
Yeah, and to those architects and engineers out there, please reach out to us. You know, you think it's a small world out there of architects, and you know everybody, but you know there's so many of us. So please reach out.
I'll just underscore what my colleague said. Really pleased to be here. Thank you. And I look forward to meeting you at some point.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. Having the primes come in is kind of a big deal day, especially for a lot of these starting companies. And if they can just get a foot in the door and learn what's coming, it's nice, especially as we get into these great big, you know, the infrastructure bill and all these giant funding projects that are coming down the pipe. It's a perfect opportunity for DBEs, WIMBYs, and other startups that are kind of starting to get going. And if anybody has any problems getting the basic connection set up with that, you can always reach out to SBTRC and PTAC. You know, if you are just a beginning business and you don't even think you're ready to bid yet, that's where PTACs come in. And then when you start getting bonded, you start looking into work, that's where SBTRC comes in. That's me. And then after that, any one of these folks would probably be, sounds like really excellent mentoring opportunities. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm going to be pitching that to everybody down the road. But yeah, we're going to move on from the prime panel, and coming up next, we have MBDA. Jessica Chang will be speaking, and make sure you stick around right before she leaves. I've got some announcements to make about the upcoming event, and I will let Jessica take it from here. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Andrew. Jessica is connecting right now, so I think, I'm not sure, is your microphone working, Jessica? Hi, everybody. Sorry for the strange transition. My name is Ivan Golovka, and I'm with the Washington Minority Business Development Agency in Tacoma. Jessica Chang is one of our colleagues, and she's here. And I wanted to just basically introduce our services, what we do for the minority businesses, and be able to take your questions as well at the end. I do want to share my screen to start off my PowerPoint. And there we go. Well, we are a long acronym, so I just want to take some time to decode that for you, and also talk about what is MBDA altogether, what is it we do for minority businesses, how we service them, and how you can see some of our resources and use them today. Well, the MBDA, the Minority Business Development Agency, is actually an agency under the U.S. Department of Commerce. And we call them sister agencies of SBAs, to SBA, to PTAC, to SBDC. You may have heard of those entities before. However, the MBDA was established back in 1969, and it was codified as a permanent agency just last year. MBDA has over 35 centers nationwide, centers like ours, which is the Washington MBDA. Now, the MBDA serves ethnic minority businesses out of those groups that are listed here: African Americans, Asian Americans, Hasidic Jews, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Pacific Islanders. The goal of MBDA is to help those minority-owned businesses in their underutilization and in the private sector discrimination, to help them overcome those challenges. Now, like I mentioned, we're one of 35 centers nationwide, and we're the only ones in the Pacific Northwest. They've been around, like I said, since 1969. We cover the whole state of Washington, even though we're operated by the city of Tacoma. Now, the core mission of MBDA is, sorry, we have another slide here, is, like I said, to overcome the underutilization and the private sector discrimination. But we aim to do that in a few different ways. We help to increase the access to contracting opportunities. We help minority-owned businesses pursue JVs, joint ventures, help advocate on their behalf, provide them some education, training. We help them get into matchmaking sessions where they can find those new opportunities, find new potential partners and prime companies to work for. And we help them also build the contracting capabilities on the backside through education, training workshops, helping them with the technical assistance and strategic consulting as well. Now, what does the Washington MBDA Center actually provide, or what are the services there? I'll go briefly through this slide, but we also want to focus on what is it that we do and who our core client is. Well, our core client are technically those that have a revenue of $500,000 revenue and up, and are growing, or those businesses that have been in business for 2 to 3 years and have rapid growth potential. However, we do provide referral and services to businesses of all sizes. We assist to improve their operational efficiencies, to increase their resources, to build the scale, to help them manage the risk, strengthen their management teams, get access to financing, whether that's actual venture capital or if it's helping to raise their equity or get bonding. We also help with increasing profits and own equity, and we also help in implementing and integrating new technology and equipment. So here's where I want to pause for a minute and give you a quick overview of what exactly is that we do. When I say technical assistance, what does that actually mean? Well, just pick a few from the list here. For example, number 5 on this list, a capability statement. These are statements that have been more and more popular, and you may have one already, or you may think you need one. And we do recommend for every contractor, every business that wants to find new contacts to have this capability statement on hand. We had a few clients come to us, and they are looking to do business or be a subcontractor to a large prime, and they were basically introducing themselves by giving cold calling and by approaching some of their employees, and they were giving them business cards. They were giving them these kind of trifold brochures about what they do, but it's these capability statements that have the technical data on there that make a difference. And something we recommend having, and I think that the previous panel, Rob, Alex, Stephanie would agree with me that when they're met with a new potential contractor or subcontractor, they do want to have all the information there at a glance, not just not have to go wade through multiple brochures, business cards, a website, and then still have questions about what exactly is your scope? What NAICS codes do you cover? What's your past performance like? How are you unique? What are your differentiators? Well, a capability statement is something that takes care of all that. And that is something we do for our clients to put together that 1 or 2 page resume, so to speak, which is a capability statement to help them get connected with their potential clients. Another one I pointed out on here is the certification support. A lot of you may have heard of the OMWBEs, MBE and DBE certification, which was also talked about in the previous panel. And applying for that can be kind of a burdensome startup project altogether, because when you take a look at the documentation required, the amount of time that it takes, it can be overwhelming. And so we help our clients to overcome that challenge and just being more confident when they go through the application process, in being able to identify what exact documents they need, what are those documents requirements, why they're there, for example, and then how to follow up on their application after they hit the submit button. And one more thing I wanted to point out is we also provide some training and education support. We have we have various kind of programs and in-house workshops that we're going through. And one of them is actually legal 101 for all businesses of all sizes, where you can understand how you structure your business, if you should, I guess, tax strategies as well, but also if you're looking to do a DBA, how should you put that together? That's one of the workshops we're putting on September 14th, and we're also going to have that in January. Also, we have Gavology. If you're familiar with Gavology, it's a training platform for businesses that are looking to do government contracting, and they cover many different topics, such as SBA programs, how to best approach military government agency, how to retain a client, but also when you do win a bid or RFP, what next? How do you actually go through making sure you follow all of the necessary documentation procedures that have to do with specific government documentation tracking? Well, that's just some of the things we do for minority businesses, and hopefully that gives you an idea of how MBDA can help your minority business. And we also have a few other programs that we administer as our Washington MBDA Center. One of them has the Sound Transit and WashDOT, the CBMP, which stands for Capacity Building Mentorship Program. Another one we also administer is through WashDOT's DBE Supported Services Program. Maybe you've heard of these before. These are two programs that we also help run. And if you'd like more information on participating in them, please do reach out to us. With this, I do want to point out our contact information, which we can also post in the chat for you to have there too. I do want to just transfer over and have us take a look at our website. And here, some of the resources that I was telling you about before, something you can actually take advantage of today. We have a list of a few things here that you can already use today, whether you're a small business, a minority business or not, or if you're looking for opportunities to bid on. First of all is the resources page.
Ivan, are we supposed to be seeing a website?
You probably are, but and you probably are not.
I am seeing
Let me
the
stop
"We are
sharing
here to serve you" slide.
Got it. Okay, let me switch over here just a second. All right, my apologies. I think you can see that now. Looks good. Okay, so on our website, I would like to just present you with a few quick resources, something for you to take away as you learn about MBDA and as you may be thinking whether you want to connect with us or not. I still want to leave you with some nuggets of useful information that you can use today. So one of our pages is the resource pages. And like I mentioned, no matter if you're a minority business or not, this is something you can take advantage of today. We put together a few sections here where you can apply for small business, find small business assistance, find resources on how to do business with federal, state, and local procurement. And of course, I'll be honest with you, these do take you to some of our partners, such as PTAC, where you can find more information for that. And resources on certifications, including those MBE and DBE certifications through the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. Also, business and agencies that have programs to get you access to financing, and a few other programs, such as the WashDOT and Sound Transit Capacity Building Mentorship Program, as well as the WashDOT DBE Supported Services Program on the bottom right here. If you're a startup business or in a startup stage where you're not generating revenue, but you're looking to grow your business further, we have a section for startup businesses and another one for women-owned businesses. So for example, let's say your startup, you can just click in here and find links to other organizations that that have support services under the startup business criteria. We welcome you to give us a call if you're looking for a guide on how to use these resources, which ones may be best for you, because I understand there are quite a few links to click on and look through, but we do recommend that we do refer to these as our guides as well when we support our clients. Without going too much into depth in the resources, I also want to point out that we have a list of opportunities posted on our website as well. And opportunities meaning that there are opportunities for you to bid on or send proposals to, or be informed about upcoming events where there may be an outreach event for you to join prime contractors to bid on upcoming opportunities. And there's actually one such here with Abbott Construction, where they're going to have a project presentation about the Mary Bridge Children's Hospital project in Tacoma. They give you a quick overview of what the scopes are and how to get in touch with them when the event is. I want to back up a little bit and mention that in the opportunities, you can also find actual opportunities where they are requests for bids, requests for proposals, information requests, where you can find opportunities to bid on projects that may be in your scope. We invite you to check these out, and if you are a prime contractor or if you're looking for subcontractors, feel free to actually email us the information that you may want posted here so we can spread the word to our minority businesses. There are also parts here where you can find out how to do business with some specific agencies or entities, such as Port of Seattle, Sound Transit, how to do business with them, WashDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, City of Tacoma, and a few other organizations such as Metro Parks, Tacoma. And there's also a resource where OMWE has a great website where they also pool opportunities, and you can find different RFPs, RFQs there as well. And the last, let's see, a piece wanted to for you to point out on our calendar is the events calendar. We actually put emphasis on our clients, or anybody actually, any business, to keep learning, to keep evolving in their methodology, whether it's administration, whether it's how to reach out to others, how to do your taxes. There's a lot of different categories and opportunities for businesses to join panels such as the PortGen, which we're here today. That's definitely on our calendar. And there's also all our other upcoming events where you get a chance to meet with other potential contractors, with other clients, and also government agencies where you may want to work with them, but you don't know how to approach them. And that will be a great place for you to start, for you to meet with those agency representatives and find out from them, how can I work for you? What kind of projects do you have that you're wanting to bid on? So there's quite a few coming up, such as Meet the Buyer in Spokane. There's a few other ones upcoming in September, I believe it's 23rd, which is the Regional Contracting Forum over at the Makoshu Casino in Auburn. And there is also the Small Business Fair in Renton Technical College that is happening on the 20. Jessica, do you remember when that was? I believe it was the 23rd Saturday. So that's what I want you to kind of be aware of in terms of resources that MBDA provides externally, but also we provide those services such as technical assistance and strategic consulting for our clients as well. Feel free to reach out to us. I believe we posted our contact information in the chat box, and hopefully this wasn't too dreary of a presentation at the end of the day for you. Thank you so much. Let us know if you do have any questions.
Hi, Ivan. This
And we
is
do have about 10 more minutes for questions, so feel free. If you've got one, raise your hand.
I have a question for Jessica and Ivan and Orlantha. Do you maintain a database of the small businesses that you work with?
If you're saying for our clients, yes, we do.
And so do you send out email blasts to them on opportunities and certifications and training and things of that nature too?
Yeah, we have a monthly newsletter that we send out. We actually focus on the training aspect, such as any training opportunities, including the PortGen here that is occurring, and other training events, networking events, B2B events, which are sometimes all in one thing, such as the Alliance Northwest, which PTAC puts on every year. Yes, so we do. For clients, we also have the opportunity for them to join the Gavology trainings, as they call them, and those are offered at no cost to them.
Well, thank you. In regards to Gavology, they really have some great classes. And little factoid you may not know is that the founder of Gavology was Washington PTAC before he went on his own to developing that company. And Washington MBDA, the Northwest Small Business Transportation Resource Center, Washington PTAC, we all have similar educational type opportunities, and we refer back and forth. So if there's a better fit with MBDA or SBTRC, Washington PTAC is happy to, point you to the right contact to get what you need, and vice versa. We get a lot of clients out of MBDA and SBTRC. So it's like, being in a upper level college, and you have resources to pick and choose whatever your major is, that any of us can help you along the way. So thank you. So any other questions from our audience? We'll start fielding some. Everybody's so quiet. So I have another question for you. Can you tell us about your relationship with Port of Seattle, and how you stay up to date on opportunities with them that you can share with your small businesses?
Well, thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Leslie, and also Port of Seattle for this opportunity to participate here at the Advanced PortGen workshop. So we love to work with the port, and we have been working with the port before. And so one of our primary goals is to help small business build capacity so that they could take on Port of Seattle's jobs so they are ready. So that is kind of our mission, and that's our goal. So with regards to the training, workshop, advocacy work, and technical assistance, it's all part of the plan. So we are fortunate enough to have PTAC and also other agencies working together to help build contracting capacity for all small businesses moving forward. So even if you feel like you may not qualify, you may not be earning $500,000 at this time, but we are still happy to talk to you, work with you. And if anything, we are here as a team with PTAC and also other agencies, and then also the port to build an ecosystem where we can help you get the next contract. So thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. So I'll hand it back over to Andrew. And, I don't see any raised hands or any new questions. So Andrew, perhaps you can pop up the presentation for the announcements on there.
Yep, and that's where we're going. Just thanks again to MBDA for coming in. Ivan, Jessica, and I am terrible at trying to pronounce names I'm unfamiliar with. Orlantha?
Perfect.
I've never heard that name before, so at least I hit it out of the park there. All right, but thank you again for coming, and we really appreciate you guys coming in to speak with us.
Thank you.
Everybody's information is in the chat. If you have further questions for these guys, pop up a little bit later tomorrow or something, feel free to shoot them an email. And of course, their presentation will be available in the Dropbox. And we've been linking periodically throughout the event. So it looks like we've actually beat the clock for the first time in a minute. Usually we run over. But as we go forward, just want to remind you that in October on the 4th, our last session for this workshop will be in person. It's going to be at Tabor 100 in Tukwila. There will be food and beverages. I don't think we're doing alcohol, but there will be refreshments. You can sign up. You could literally just pick up your cell phone right now and hold it up to the screen, and it will sign you up through that QR code. So that QR code, even if you just look at the presentation later, is one way. Obviously, the URLs are another. But we will have representatives from SBTRC, representatives from Port of Seattle. PTAC's going to be there. And then most of our presenters have indicated that they would be coming. So anybody that you've seen speak on this event, you can actually go and just shake their hand, talk to them, ask questions. And then that's going to be Tuesday the 4th from 3 to 5 p.m. There you go. Take notes. Next slide, please. That's not the next slide. That's the last slide. Thank you. And so here's the contact information for everybody in Port of Seattle that's been responsible for this whole event. You know, Emily, who's with us right now. We've got Mian Rice as the director, and he is an amazing guy. I've met him a few times, and every time he drops in, you know, you can email them both directly, as well as Lawrence Coleman with Wimby, and Liz Fair, who does DVEs, and Yared Belit, who is the diversity coordinator, as well as Josie Regan, senior admin. So you can also, if you scan on this QR code, somebody found QR codes. They're exciting. They're really neat. But if you scan this QR code, just hold your phone up and go click. It will sign you up for all the announcements coming out of Port of Seattle, specifically their upcoming events. Worth a note, the references during the Prime panel, we had a couple of things pop up in chat. And this is one of our busier chats, actually. But Maritime Industry Day in particular for September 28th. And the link to register for that is in chat as well. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Unless we have any closing words from Leslie, Aisha, or Emily, I think we're good to go. No?
Yeah. Go ahead, Leslie.
Yeah, I was double checking a link, so I'm posting it in the chat, the direct link for the sign up for the October 4th event. I have just posted. So thank you everyone for coming, and particular thanks to Port of Seattle and our very, very awesome presenters today. They did a terrific job. Thanks Jessica and Ivan and Orlanta for being the capstone for the day. We appreciate your support. So with that, I'll turn it over to Emily.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, you and Andrew and Aisha have been doing a fantastic job organizing and leading these and making sure we have such great presenters and presentations happening. So thank you all. And that's all I've got to say for now.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll close it out. So we'll end the recording and we'll see you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
All right. Thanks, everybody. That was great.
Have a good evening,
See you
everyone.
guys.
You too.